Welcome back to the Cheer Athlete. Today I have with me Coach Claudia Ralph, who is from New Jersey, and she is a head coach of Princeton cheerleading team, the Princeton cheerleading team, and she does choreography through Rah Rah routines and also works with CheerFit. And I'm so glad to have you here, Coach Claudia. I want to talk to you a lot today about what it's like to be on the sidelines and the reason that we connected. You caught my eye on Instagram with your sideline dances and your routines, and you're really talking about what I consider traditional cheerleading and being part of a cheer team on the sidelines, not just all-star and schools cheerleading. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I tell me a little bit about your background. I know I think you went to Seton Hall, and so how did you get into cheerleading and what brought you here today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a cheerleader for 14 years before transitioning into the coaching side. So I started cheering when I was in the third grade. I started like super low level rec cheerleading. And then from there, I kind of moved up into high school cheerleading and then competitive cheerleading in high school. I never did any sort of like all-star or anything like that. I did like 1 year of performance rec when I was like in eighth grade, but I never did any sort of like flashy all-star. So my background really is in scholastic and sideline cheerleading with an emphasis really on that sideline. That's really what I enjoyed the most. When I went to college, I went to Catholic University first in DC for 2 years, and then I transferred and I attended Seton Hall for the second 2 years. So I had a really great mix of two different types of cheerleading at two different schools. And then once I graduated, I did graduate during COVID, so in 2020, and I went to pursue my master's degree. So during that time, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to begin coaching. So I started coaching high school cheerleading at that time. And then after my first year of coaching high school cheerleading, I was offered the position at Princeton, and here we are now.
Time flies, and it goes, and like that's cool. So many changes like in that time frame. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And big schools like uh, Seton Hall at like the Big East and Princeton, like two big, like what's it like to be on the sidelines for big school? Like I went to Northeastern University, and at the time we were 1AA, and like I loved being at the football games, and still connect. I mean, we don't have a football team anymore, but I still connect. But it was small. It was kind of like a high school field, so it wasn't a big experience like the Big East or I don't know what division Princeton is in.
The Ivy League, yeah.
Really, I should know that. So what's it like to be, for both as a cheerleader, but also as a coach?
Yeah, so I think that it's really cool that I've had both sides. I feel like this year really going to the Sweet 16 was really pivotal and made me feel a lot like I was in college again, that we were really used to those big atmospheres and big arenas, and it can be intimidating. I remember being really intimidated the first time we cheered at our home arena at the Prudential Center when I was a junior. But then I realized that it's just cheerleading, and cheerleading's the same whether you're anywhere and everywhere. And that's what I preach to my athletes, especially this year, going into the Sweet 16 and having such a televised and public, run and situation here where everybody was stopping the team and was really fascinated by them. I just was like, guys, this is just cheerleading. No matter where you go, it's all the same. What we do at home when there's 500 people is what you're going to do here when there's 25,000 people, and that's not going to change very much. So just stick to what we're doing. But it can be intimidating. I would always describe it as like it felt like you were in like a video game, like you were like watching the video game happen in front of you and you were kind of just sitting there.
Yeah.
But it's so incredibly rewarding, and this year being able to take a team through that kind of atmosphere was really, really special. And our teams are very good. And historically, our basketball teams are very good. Our football team's also very good, but they don't play in the FCS playoffs. That's a whole league-wide thing. But we do have a really large football stadium as well. So being able to bring them into those environments and showing them there's so much more out there in terms of like cheerleading and having them have these rewarding experiences is something that as a coach is so valuable.
that was one of my, I coached in Worcester at the College of Holy Cross, and one, like probably the second to last year, I think we went to, made the tournament, and that was my first time because I was just on the cusp. Northeastern was a long time ago before they made the tournament, and I didn't get to go. And so this, as I got to go as a coach, and I agree with you 100%. Like looking at it like a video game, like I was like, this is so exciting, like look at all these people here. It was very cool. Um, what are as a what are some of the struggles that we'll start with team that your team has, like when you have to, like when you're at a big tournament like that, or you're, and with school requirements, and then, and there's a lot of time off that you need to have. So how did your team manage that? Like handling, especially, Ivy League, and I imagine their schedule's pretty heavy.
Yeah,
Between
so we
practices
were
and
lucky
travel.
that last year and this year, the whole week that we were gone. So in the previous season, my first year, we went to Bloomington to Indiana University to with our women's basketball team. So we played 2 games there as well. We won in the round of 64 and played in the round of 32 there. So both years we've had multiple games in March, which is always a blessing.
Right.
But it really worked out that last year in Indiana and this year for the first 2 rounds in Sacramento was actually spring break. So that is where we do get a little bit lucky. But when we went to Louisville for the Sweet 16, we weren't as fortunate because it was not spring break
Awesome.
anymore. Um, we don't really have the luxuries that other teams have. I know I just watched a docu-series on YouTube about University of Southern Florida and their all-girl program and how they can practice twice a day and all this stuff and stay over Christmas and everything. And we just don't have that luxury that everybody else has of being able to spend so much time at cheerleading every week because they do have to go to class and at these big schools they say, oh, they go to class, they do this, they do that, but the attendance requirements are different, the academic rigor is a little bit different, and these kids really have to be in class. They have to be in class, they have to be in the library. Sometimes I'm like, okay guys, we're gonna like extend practice half hour. They're like, Claudia, we have to study. And so being sympathetic and understanding about their academic situations and schedules while also recognizing that we have a job to get done is really, really vital and important. I did say to them, and this is like, I'm like, they were like bugging about their like mechanical engineering midterm when we were about to leave Sacramento. And I was like, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, you're never going to remember your mechanical engineering midterm. You're
Right.
going to remember this for the
Right.
rest of your life. When you're old and wrinkly, you're going to talk about this.
Yep.
You're going to talk about mechanical engineering. Maybe you will. You're a Princeton student. So their dedication and their passion for their education is something that even when I was in is different from when I cheered in school because they really are like these are the people that are the CEOs and they're going to be doctors and lawyers and they're the changers of the world that I am so lucky to work with every single day. But we don't have the luxury that other teams have of being able to be at cheer multiple times a day or every day of the week. So that's where it gets a little bit challenging to really grow the program and grow the competitiveness of the program. We've definitely made great strides and we look night and day to what the program was when I came in 2 years ago, but at the same time, we're not maybe as far along as I had imagined when I first came on, just because we do have these limitations and they all work really hard and they all are very talented. And that's not the problem necessarily. It's that education, it is student athlete, it is student first. We're keeping them in class when we were in between Sacramento and Louisville, our athletic director and the men's basketball coach were going back and forth about when we wanted to leave to go to Louisville because you go in a charter plane. So you don't really have the
Right.
problems of getting everybody a ticket at a certain time. Um, and the athletic director was like, these kids need to go to class for at least 2 days. And so they went to class on Monday and Tuesday, and we left on Wednesday, and we played on Friday night. So they're like, we're not changing time zones, like whatever, we're gonna get these
Yeah.
kids to class. And it was really good because the kids on my team did need to go to class.
Mhm.
But so that's like the unique, they're doing homework in the lobby, like you're passing them and you're gonna go out and about to like see sites and stuff, and they're doing their homework, or they have to go write their thesis or whatever. So it's definitely a very unique environment in terms of academic rigor.
Yeah, I imagine that's really hard to keep up with, and I appreciate that you can recognize that and understand that. And while your athletic director is like, nope, you have to go to classes. Also, he's also supporting, like, you have to be there for 2 days, but yes, we're going to get you there. And
Yeah,
I think that that's key, like having the support from the athletic department. And that's definitely awesome.
yeah.
So you mentioned, growth of the program. Like, what is your recruiting process, or do you have a recruiting process that that people are reaching out to? Like, yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. So basically what happens is that to get onto the team, you have to get into the school. So for example, we went to the Infinity College Combine in New Jersey, me and my assistant coach a few weeks ago, and we sat down with their list and we looked at every single kid that had like a 3.9, a 4.0, 4.5, and we wrote out all those kids, because before we even have a conversation with a potential athlete, we have to have the conversation of like, what's your GPA, and are you going to test? Princeton is test optional. Are you going to test? Are you going to submit your test scores? Like, what do your extracurriculars look like? Where are you from? It really does. It does make a difference in the admissions process. So we can tell athletes, listen, if you come here, you will have, if you can get into the school, you will have a spot on this team. But we don't recruit like some of our counterparts and others at other schools do. That's standard for all cheer teams in the league. The other thing we don't give is athletic scholarships. That's standard for the whole league. That's every sport, every school. So like your Harvard, Yale, Penn, Brown, no, absolutely none. Nobody gets athletic money. So when people say, oh, well, they don't give scholarships, like, no, even our football team isn't really getting scholarships here. So that's another piece that, especially as the recruitment and tryout process in cheerleading has evolved since COVID. I think COVID really changed the way we create teams and recruit athletes for certain schools. We don't do that. We still do the traditional tryout model for the most part. Trying out is like a formality for some people, basically. We just say, okay, if you come here, you'll make the team. You just have to make the tryout video, and then you'll be on the team.
And so do you actually have a tryout then? Do you like
Yeah, we have it. We still have a full tryout because there's still other people that we don't recruit don't recruit necessarily. We don't
you haven't seen
have conversations with prior to.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can always cut people that we see necessary, and we do cut people, but those are going to be typically the people that we've never heard from before.
So that brings up the question of how do, if you haven't been to a combine, so combines to me are new. Like, I'm just starting to hear about them.
They are new,
yeah. So if you haven't been to a combine and you want to cheer, and you like, do people reach out to you? Like, can they reach out to you?
So the beauty of cheerleading not being an NCAA sport, there's this double-sided coin. Like, you don't have to follow the rules, but there are no rules, so the rules are kind of just made up. Coaches at combines will reach out to you. My suggestion would be, if you are going to a combine, you need to be of superior skill. I mean, I would say like 80% of the boys and girls had fulls, and like it was really, a lot of them were very experienced, which is great. And we met some kids that were very experienced that wanted to be a part of our program, which was really great. Coaches will reach out to you. I know we have somebody coming to visit next week that we met at the combine. They will reach out to you to visit their schools. They will reach out for you to visit their programs and their facilities. And it was acro and tumbling and cheerleading at the same time. So I think there were some stunt schools there too, but usually all those schools have all the stuff. And Infinity does it. There's all sorts of combines. We just happen to stick with Infinity because we know Tate and Steve pretty well. They have a whole app system where you communicate with them through that. You can see their skills, you can see their rating, so that you get rated like a star rating, just like football players do. And you go through various agility. The first day is agility and stunting and tumbling. And you go through like the whole gamut of all the skills in cheerleading, but also agility and other like speed exercises so that you can get your score. And coaches will reach out to you. The coaches are watching. We were like walking around with like a notepad and writing down like, oh, that's number 2405. We know she has a 4.5. She's going to be the valedictorian of her class. Her SAT score is really good. So then we go seek her out after, and she's great skills. We go seek her out. So that's kind of what the combine is used for. Other schools use the combines for other purposes too. There were all sorts of schools at the combine.
That's it. I get chills, like, because like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Like, we want to be recognized as a sport by NCAA, but there's still a lot of leeway that allows us more freedom on a lot of things. And but this is a step in the direction of looking that being just like a college sport.
More athletic. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's super exciting. When do you have your tryouts? Because do you have a second tryout?
Yeah, so we do have a second tryout. I know some schools don't, but we always do. Some of our best athletes come from the second tryout. So for example, we have a male athlete who just this past summer like won the British Euro Gym Championships. So imagine what his tumbling looks like. We didn't have him until the fall of last year. So our team would be he has, I mean, every possible skill, tumbling skill and cheerleading he has. Right. Which is really, really great. And so that's why we do have a second tryout, especially because Princeton is not necessarily a super spirited school, because obviously the emphasis is really on academics. And so for that reason, we don't really have a lot of people that are aware that there's even a cheerleading program. But also we do it for our mascot. We do the mascot and the cheer at the same time. That way it's a little bit more cohesive, and our program is more cohesive into like a spirit program, which is something that we've been really looking to push as an athletic department, which is, I think, is really, really great. So we always do have a second tryout, and we always, even though we have a complete roster, like I'm not looking to fill any holes necessarily. I'm never going to say no to good talent.
Yeah. And do you have a limit of how many people you will have on your team?
No, I don't have a limit. If I need to order more uniforms, we'll get more uniforms. It's very inclusive of, like, if your talent is really, like, it's inclusive of talent. I don't like cut people that have talent just to cut them at this point. Like, yeah, if you're talented, we will take you. That's
awesome. And so what skills are you looking for? Like, so a big thing I see on all the cheer mom Facebook groups is, oh, my cheerleader needs to have better flexibility. They need to, like, obviously we all want the higher level skill level, and, but like, do you have a baseline that like you have to being on a,
do I have a baseline skill level?
Yeah.
So this is like an interesting thing, because we've had people for example, British Euro Gym never cheered a day in his life. Came to us, has standing full. So no cheerleading experience there, right? So a lot of we get to, I would say, like 3 silos of people. The third silo is kind of going away. That would be like dancer, people who have dance experience. Yeah. We have like a few. That's the smallest silo. I know we have like one girl. Her mom was a cheerleader at like University of Arkansas, so she really like prepared the girls for the tryout. And she's great. So we have that silo, dancer silo. Those are going to be the people that are like, we have this like hybrid. We don't have a dance team, so we need to like kind of carry some people that can carry that sort of those attributes for us. So dance people, I would say there's like maybe 4 people that like are real dance. And then the next silo is people that cheered. They might not be people that have tumbling, but they have cheerleading experience, and they know how to stunt, and they know how to be a sideline cheerleader. So that's the cheerleader bucket. Some of them have tumbling, not all of them. And then same thing with the dancer. Some of them have tumbling, not all of them. Last bucket, gymnast. They all have the tumbling. We teach them how to stunt. Teaching stunting is so much easier than teaching tumbling. And at this level, like, having like almost half your team tumble as a result of like having gymnasts is something that's really great. And then the other half has this like other transferable experience. Either they cheer, so they're great, or they have dance experience, so they have really great showmanship and they really look great on the sidelines once we fix their motions. They have really great, and our captains are great and our team is great. When we're at practice, we don't like work on motions or anything. That's all done outside of practice time, which is great. We really work on skills. We work on, people have gotten skills, people have gotten tumbling that they didn't have before on our team, which is great. So there is like an emphasis on like skill building. The Ivy League is different. You attract a different type of athlete. I would say a lot of kids that go to Ivy League schools have run track or played tennis or do very individualized sports that don't involve a lot of team effort, because that's the mentality for a lot of athletes, and that's not a bad thing to have. But reintroducing to this like team mentality is something that, you know, is really valuable to have in life too.
That was, I mean, that I think it was Jason Clark has just asked from the Let's Talk Cheer podcast about, you know, what do you miss about cheerleading? And like I as a teenager, I mostly did team sports with like softball and swimming, and that was great. But like I found my home when I started cheering. And what I miss about cheering most, besides stunting, is really the team. You know, like
Yeah.
you know, I mean that, and you can be part of a team as as an adult if you get into other. So if you have other background, you play soccer, you do whatever. There's not a lot of adult team cheer programs.
Casual cheerleading as an adult.
Yeah,
Casual. The
yeah,
emphasis on the casual. There's casual soccer and
yeah,
casual
yeah.
softball and all
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Cheerleading's not casual.
Right. Exactly. And so the team bonding and the being part of that and the cohesiveness and how, like, as a PT, I think it's important that they have the background in another sport like running, track, and that because that is better on their body, that they can have
Yeah.
different skill development and it will carry over. But it's hard, you know, transitioning that into the team aspect and learning the skills of cheer, I think, could be a challenge too. So I think that's really fun that there's a variety that come into that and play, you know, and have that experience. How closely do you work with a band?
So our band, so we sit under athletics and our band is a club. So while we do work closely together and we are in the same place at the same time, a lot of times we're not necessarily like programmed together only like at tournaments and stuff. So they have like different, they're student run and student supervised, and we're obviously run by me and
Yeah.
supervised by our athletic department. But we do work together a lot. They're super, like a super nice group. Some Ivy League bands are what you call like a scramble band, so they're not like a traditional like march and player instruments. They do like fun skits and they're really entertaining, and they say funny things during the games, inappropriate but funny things. And they have like their little chants they do that I'm sometimes the only one that hears them because I stand right next to them. And I just laugh to myself because I think they're hilarious.
Right.
So we don't necessarily work. I will like kind of be like, okay, guys, we're gonna like do this now. So do this. And they have really good student run leadership, and being young, it kind of helps me like relate to them a little bit more. I'm not like barking orders at them. But I'm like, when we went to Sacramento, our women's team was in Utah playing, and since it was spring break, this is like, I always hate admitting this. Since it was spring break, I didn't keep the whole team there because the Ivy League is a one bid conference. So you have to win to make the tournament. So both teams winning, the chances were very slim. I'll say it. They were very slim.
Right.
So when both teams won, I was like,
I know.
and they were going to actually put us on a commercial flight after the round of 64 to Utah to cheer at the women's round of 64 the next day. And we ended up winning, so we couldn't go. So the band went with the women and we went with the men. That's how that worked. We rented a high school band and a high school band played. It was kind of cool. They were
Well,
like, they had so much fun. Yeah. And they got to play in 2 rounds. But in Louisville, when we reunited with our band, we had been doing some things with the rent a band.
yeah.
In terms of timeouts and stuff. that they were playing certain songs at certain times. So, kind of circling back with them, hey guys, during the first time out, they were playing the fight song. We want to keep doing that. We thought it was a good way to start. So that's kind of what we work with the band on collaboratively. Like I said, we kind of end up at the same place at the same time, but during the basketball season, we play all our games on Fridays and Saturdays, conference games. Ivy League had to happen on the weekends, the band will split and go support our men's and women's hockey teams, and we'll go to basketball. So we do kind of cover between all of us a lot of things. Like I know we all went to rugby one time last year. So they're super active and they have a super active alumni base. Obviously bands are bigger than the cheer team, but yeah, they're a good group.
That I like how you are able to coordinate that. We at Holy Cross, we all went. We usually travel together. So if we went to any, like if there was, we didn't cover a lot of hockey games, but I think the hockey team was in a tournament one time, and we all went together and we're on the bus together. For when we went to conference tournaments, we would take the bus together, and so we were a little closer because of that, and tried to coordinate. But then there was a lot of times we're like, we want to do this song, and sometimes they would actually learn the song, and it was really cool. So it's I think it's fun when you can coordinate that and get on board. It must be a challenge when they're not there too, because then it's a whole different.
It's kind of like there's holes where they would have been, and we're like playing the fight song track on like Spotify, and we make it work.
That's perfect. Let's transition a little bit because you have a marketing background, and I know well. Coaching at Princeton is not your front.
No.
Is that your full-time job?
No, I actually do development consulting. I wear so many hats. The clock just hit 9 o'clock, so I'm sure my computer will start going off, which is fine. I work in development consulting for a nonprofit consulting firm here in New Jersey, but we cover a wide variety of clients across the country. Various nonprofits of varying sizes. So, big hospital groups, all the way down to like small community organizations. I work with the day-to-day operations of our clients. So sitting in their offices, making sure everything's done. I did my college internships in development. So I did one in a massive hospital group in New Jersey, and then one actually at Seton Hall in the athletics department. So I have that background and experience. And I always say, like, if coaching doesn't work, I have an MBA. Like, if coaching doesn't work, like, I have other skills. And I do a lot of development work through Princeton cheerleading too, like with our alumni and our friends group and all that stuff. So it was just kind of a perfect way for me to transition my skills to consulting. And consulting is really flexible and doesn't require you to be in one place at one time most of the time. But I'm able to go on the road with the team and still be working and be flexible, which is a real win for me.
Yeah, for sure. And then your consulting stuff, we'll touch on that quick. And then I know it's work time. So
no, it's okay. It's okay. I blocked myself out. We're good.
So you did choreography through the summer with Rah-Rah routines, and talk about Rah-Rah routines and Cheer Fit and kind of how that all
so I've actually known Christina and Danielle, Christina owns Rah-Rah routines and Danielle owns Cheer Fit. I'll do Cheer Fit quick because that's an easy one to move from. But I've known them both from like around the same time in my life, like junior-ish year of high school. I worked with Danielle on a lot of projects throughout my time as a cheerleader, and up to as recently as this winter. We still, talk and whatever, but she has had a shift in her life. She had just had another baby. So she's rebranding. So that project is completely her, but I did a lot of the supporting up until the rebrand of her project, which is great. And it worked out fine because I am really busy in my regular life anyway. So but I was doing a lot of their social media and stuff up until this winter. But I think CheerFit is great. CheerFit came at a point in my life that I think was really awesome. And I've met so many amazing people through CheerFit and have connected with so many amazing women. So that is kind of the CheerFit side. And then Rah-Rah, I've known Christina around the same time in my life. My high school team was the first team that Christina actually ever worked with, which is really cool. And I've been doing choreography with her since 2018, since right around the time that I transferred. So she was looking for people to work in my area. I just reached back out to her, and we've had a really great relationship since. I work, like, I guess in the past 3 weeks I've worked with, this is like the fifth or sixth team that I'm on working with, doing choreography in the evenings because we don't start preseason until next week. So it's a really great time for me to, keep current with my choreography skills and really fine tune my abilities to create a routine and teach skills, especially to younger athletes, which I really enjoy, especially like the little ones. They're so cute.
I
Um,
know.
but working with Christina, I've, had various opportunities to choreograph all levels. So I know I have some high school teams coming up. And then I kind of just slot it all in. I am one busy person. And I never sit still, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But being able to do choreography, it gives me, just like doing consulting, it's flexibility. Like, I'm able to do it when I want to do it. And I can say yes or no to teams and projects and say that fits in my timetable, that doesn't, which is really, really great. And I really enjoy working with athletes of all ages. I think that sometimes as a college coach, you lose sight of the ability to work with athletes of other ages because you're so in college mentality. But like last night I was with like third and fourth graders, and like, okay guys, like super, but it really does teach you to be so versatile in your cheer environments.
I just listened to Rachel Hollis podcast, and and I'm not going to remember the guy's name who wrote a book called Super. I think it's called Alter Ego, and he talks about having to wear different hats at different times, and like, because sometimes you have to go work with the little kids, or sometimes you have to work, you're working with college kids, or sometimes you're talking with coaches, and your personality, not your like having a personality switch, but your personality is changing. You have to adapt to that, and
Yeah.
it like we sometimes think we have to fit into one box, and I do think I think that's something that like I didn't click until just now, but like that cheerleading kind of taught or teaches us is like you have to be. I was traditionally a very shy person, before I started cheering. I still consider myself a shy person. I kind of tend to be stand backish and like to take it all in. But being able to then put a different hat on and get on the field, like
It's
it
like
was,
you flip the switch and
yeah,
something like changes, like
yeah,
you're able to like boom. And that's, as cheerleaders, it's such a skill that we have to be able to, good or bad, we're able to really mask, what's going on. And even though the team is down 50, you're still really upbeat and excited, whether the team's up 50 or they're down 50, you have the same demeanor. And I think that in life, that's such a valuable skill to have, that you can be optimistic no matter the situation. But being able to change my demeanor when I'm working with young athletes to working with college athletes, that is something, like you said, it's a skill that you have, and you have to work on it too. You're not just going to become good at being able to wear your different hats overnight.
exactly. Um, so what can you give one tip for a athlete who's wanting to move up the, either starting from rec to high school to cheer or to college? Like, what's one tip that you could give to keep them, to get them motivated going?
Yeah. So my one piece of advice to athletes that really want to take it to the next level, whether you are a rec cheerleader, an all-star cheerleader, or anywhere in between, would be to never ever let anybody tell you that an opportunity is not worth pursuing. When I was young, people didn't take cheerleading very seriously, especially my high school. Cheerleading was kind of looked at as this kind of joke, and people turned their nose up to it and didn't think it was really necessarily anything. And look at the career it's given me and the life it's given me and how many people I've met. And 15-year-old Claudia never would have thought that this would be where 25-year-old Claudia would be. Don't ever ask about somebody's 10-year plan, because you never know where it's going to go. But
Right.
anyway, don't ever let anybody tell you that an opportunity is not worth pursuing, because if it's a passion to you and something that you want relentlessly, no matter what, you will be able to get there, and you will be able to stand at the top of the mountain and look around and say, wow, like I did it. And that is really how I feel about every accomplishment that I've had in cheerleading, because people would always kind of laugh at me or, make fun of me or, poke jokes at me and say, oh, well, she's never going to get anywhere. She's too serious about this. It's not worth it. And I mean, kind of like the joke's on them at the end of the day, because look where I've ended up. I worked really hard. I put my head down and I grinded and I pursued opportunities that came to me, and I could never be more grateful that I pursued those opportunities, and then I took a bet on myself and put myself out there, because it has, far exceeded my expectations in terms of the life that I have now.
That I think is the best tip ever, because like whether I think like taking you from one aspect of cheer to the other, but in life and beyond too, like, don't accept other people's limitations on you. That's a huge, huge lesson to learn that we all can learn. So, yeah. So, what's next for Princeton Cheer for you?
So Princeton Cheer does, in terms of like what's really next, move in is tomorrow. So Princeton Cheer is moving in tomorrow. So that will be great. We'll be getting some things started and rolling. I know that both me and my assistant are very busy preparing for everybody to come back to campus. We do preseason. It's about 10 days. We don't start school till after Labor Day, which is very atypical for college. So people always ask, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? We don't start school till September 5th. So I can't bring them back on like July 31st. That's not feasible. But we're going to hit the ground running. Our first 3 games are at home this year for football. So we're going to hit the ground running. We're going to start preparing, which is going to be great. We have a team of 17 returners and 2 rookies. So I'm hoping we kind of can just pick up right where we left off in April at our last team practice and start moving and grooving towards our goals. We'll be putting together our game day routine this week. We'll be starting to put together the pieces of it to perform it at various places during the welcome activities, even if we just do a piece of it here and there, which will be really, really awesome. And then we're going to truck along and have our best spirit forward for our school and really work to continue to change the stigma around cheerleading, especially on Ivy League campuses. For me, Coach Claudia, I'm going to work on the behind the scenes of Princeton cheerleading and really pursue growing their brand and growing their brand equity. I think that we've really started to do a good job of that. Clearly I know how to grow a brand. I've grown my own brand from scratch, which has been really a rewarding experience, but really growing their brand and their brand equity will be something that, as we move into this new age of Princeton cheerleading, will be something that will really set them apart from the other teams in the league.
That's awesome. I'm excited for all that. And next time we talk, we'll talk about game day stuff, like the game day routine stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a lot of fun. Where can people reach you if they want to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram handle is at coachclaudia.ralph, and my TikTok handle is the same. And so is my Twitter handle. I'm not really as active on Twitter and TikTok as I am on Instagram, but I'm super active answering my messages. I know that people do message me and sometimes never get a response. I just get a lot of I get a lot of messages. I try to respond to everybody the best I can. But as I told Laura, I wear many hats and I have a lot going on. So please don't be offended if I don't get back to you. But keep messaging me and I'll eventually respond. But I am super active on my Instagram. I try to interact with everybody as much as possible, and that is how you can reach me.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us today. I get excited talking school cheer because that's my background, and really, I think there's a lot of cheerleaders that want to cheer in college and maybe don't see the opportunities out there and don't recognize how student athlete is the important part here.
Yeah.
And that there are opportunities out there. And I love what you're doing. And I think it's exciting that you're building the brand, and creating awareness around Ivy League athletes, Ivy League cheer athletes. So thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. don't forget, when in doubt, breathe it out. Take life one step at a time, and we will see you next time. And as my friend Drew Kelleher said, you're responsible for your own vibes. So go make it a great day.